Jets fans, what is going on? Today is the day we have all been waiting for, the 2024 NFL Draft starting 8 p.m. Eastern. And honestly, I could not be more excited for this particular draft because I feel like this is truly the first year in I don't know how long where honestly, we have no idea which way the Jets are going to go. Are they going to trade up for a guy like Marvin Harrison Jr.? Are they going to stay put and have a Rome Odunze or Fulton or take a Brock Bowers? Are they going to trade back, take an offensive tackle? What are they going to do? And I personally think that just makes this draft a whole lot more exciting. As in previous years, it was, okay, well, we need an offensive tackle in the worst way. We're probably going offensive tackle. We need a receiver in the worst way. We're probably going receiver. We need a quarterback in the worst way. We're probably going quarterback. It's just this whole draft is just one big mystery. So I just want to real quick give my final thoughts on the 2024 draft before it starts. And I want to start off by saying, personally, if the Jets take a playmaker, whether it's receiver, Brock Bowers, if they take, an offensive tackle, I'm going to be happy either way. I'm personally on train playmaker. More specifically, Brock Bowers, just because I think if we stay at 10, I think that is the most likely option to be there for the Jets for a playmaker. But look, again, if we take wide receiver, Brock Bowers, another, offensive tackle, I'm going to be happy either way because either way, I think it improves his team. But here's a couple of reasons why I prefer playmaker over offensive tackle. I think in an all-in year, you need to score more than 15.6 points a game, which is what the Jets averaged last season. One of the worst, if not the worst in football. I think it was actually second worst points per game in football. But you need to score more. And, there's all this talk about how Brock Bowers, that's a luxury pick. Well, me personally, I think if you take a tackle who's going to sit, granted, he might start some point throughout the season, but you're spending a top pick on a guy who's going to sit, who's going to learn, who's going to develop behind the starters. I think that's more of a luxury pick to me. It's like I said, especially when you need to score more than 15.6 points a game. We couldn't even score the league average. And look, Mike Williams, great guy to bring in, big, tall, athletic, goes up and gets the ball. Perfect compliment to Garrett Wilson. But he is going to be on the wrong side of 30, coming off an ACL injury, playing on the most turf monster hungry field in the NFL. It seems like every week we have a player going down with a non-contact injury, or the other team has a player going down with the non-contact injury because of the turf. And quite frankly, there's all the talk, he'll be ready for week one, this and that. Look, honestly, we have no idea. And that's why we signed him to the team-friendly deal that we did, heavily incentivized. And look, we have no idea. We have no idea what he's going to look like, if he's going to be fully ready for week one. We don't know, and that's the realistic fact about it. And to me, I make this argument. Do you feel more comfortable with a guy like Carter Warren or Max Mitchell, who are both very young, have starting experience, have flashed at times? Let's not forget. Let's not act like, a year or 2 years ago. I'll say a year ago that we were saying Max Mitchell was a very good fourth-round pick because when he was asked to start pretty much right away, coming from a lower-level division of football in the Sun Belt Conference, he played fairly well. He held his own. And then, he had the freak blood clot injury, which we have no idea how much that affected him, especially with the amount of rotation that was going through that offensive line. And Carter Warren asked to start a few games, who was coming off an injury from the preseason and workouts and everything else. He had some flashes. Can he get better? Absolutely. Did he look like an all-star? No, obviously not. But those guys are young. They're developing. They have starting experience. And So would you rather trust those guys to be your backups or trust Allen Lazard, who quite frankly didn't do anything? He was not a good football player, even with Aaron Rodgers coming back, and you're hoping that that can kind of invigorate, put a little juice in Allen Lazard. I mean, what's a really good season for Lazard? 700 yards and 3 touchdowns as a potential number 2 if anything happens to Mike Williams or Garrett Wilson, or God forbid both. I feel a lot better with Carter Warren and Max Mitchell being the backups at their respective positions than Allen Lazard, Jason Brownlee, who is an unknown, Xavier Gipson, who flashed at times, but is he a number 2? I don't think anybody would say he's a number 2. Or, like I said, number 1. God forbid anything happens to both Mike Williams and Garrett Wilson. I just think that there's too much risk to not bring in a playmaker to be that 1B, number 2, could be a number 1 receiver or playmaker for this team. The second point is, the same people who say, well, Aaron Rodgers makes the offensive line better because how he controls the line of scrimmage, how he calls out audibles, how he puts the offense in the best position. Well, now all of a sudden that doesn't account for the guys who are already on the roster. Again, is Carter Warren or Max Mitchell, are they going to be all pros? Probably not. But if you're telling me that, Aaron Rodgers is going to make all these guys better and he can't make these guys an adequate backup, a middle of the pack to below average tackle, I just don't get it. I think that's hypocritical. The third thing is, again, with these tackles, an argument I hear with drafting offensive tackle is, well, they get to sit behind Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, and they get to learn from 2 of the best. But if we keep the backups we have now, they act like that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. And why can't Carter Warren and Max Mitchell learn, develop, and get better from Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses? Another reason is Buffalo Jet fan, if you follow him, he made a really good point that if you bring in a tackle, is it going to be a significant difference, a significant improvement, rather than, bringing in another veteran to back up? History has shown that that's really just probably not the case when it comes to, a rookie's first year, rookie tackle's first year. Another reason, I've stated this over and over and over in previous videos, and that's, look, if you have to rely on the rookie to come in, offensive line is the second most coach-needy position in all of sports, in my opinion, right after quarterback. If a playmaker, or let's just say a wide receiver, Rome Odunze will say, if Rome Odunze is, a step slow getting off the line, or, doesn't hit his slant, as sharp as he can, okay, that really kind of only affects him because you have other players you can distribute the ball to. But if, we'll say, Fashanu in this instance, if he's having an issue picking up blitzes, picking up stunts, understanding defensive schemes, that doesn't just affect him. That affects the entire offensive line, because now the entire offensive line is going to have to pick up that slack as well. It affects the quarterback, obviously. It affects a running back who might be only in there to chip and then run a route. Well, now he might have to chip and then, find someone else to block, or just straight up find someone to block. Tight ends it affects. I feel like it's just a lot of pressure to put on a young offensive tackle or guard or whoever in the rookie year to say, okay, well, now you're the man up. Now you got to go be on an island in a level of football that you have never played in, and understand defensive schemes that you've might have never seen before. Understand offensive concepts and offensive schemes that you might have never seen before. Not to say they can't do it. Look, not to say these guys are going to be bad or terrible. It's just, it's a lot more of a risk to do that than to have a Odunze or Bowers Because look, if you're strong, fast, big, you can allow that natural talent to kind of take over if you're a playmaker while the rest of your game develops. Again, if Odunze is a step slow off the line, but he's bigger and stronger and a better contested guy than the safety or the cornerback or the linebacker or whoever against him, well, then you can still go and make a play where that's not the case for offensive linemen. Again, your mistakes affect the entire rest of the offense. It doesn't just affect, the left side or whatever the case may be. It affects the rest of the offense. So that's, those are a couple reasons why I'm really on the playmaker train at 10. Again, preferably if they're going to go offensive line, I would rather them trade back, because another thing is there's not really a consensus on these offensive tackles. The order in which they're ranked, it's been all over the place. First, it was the can't miss prospect. He might go number 4. Now, you hear things, some teams have Latham and Fashanu ahead of him. It's just all over the place. Alt was the guy. Well, we weren't going to get Alt because we were too far down the draft. Well, then it's Fashanu or nothing, because Fashanu's the next to Brickshaw Ferguson. And then it was, I heard, now it's Latham because he has the size, he has the strength. It's Latham or nothing, because, once he gets his hands on you, you're not going anywhere. And then it moved to, after the Senior Bowl, now it's Fuaga. Fuaga is the guy because, he's just a big mauler and his run blocking great. It's got to be Fuaga or nothing. And then it went to, now it's Futanu or no one, because Futanu can play every position on the line, which we have no idea if he can do that. Can he do it in college? Sure, but when you look at the level of competition in his division of college, and now you're going up into the NFL, you're just expecting this guy to be able to play 4 different positions. That's very unlikely. That he's AVT 2.0. Well, AVT is kind of a unicorn in the sense of he can play 4 different positions on the offensive line very well. No, not every prospect can do that. And now it's back to, now I'm hearing more, it's back to, now it's Fuaga again. So the consensus is just, they're all kind of bunched together. So if there's not one player that stands out, then why not go get the playmaker that can help you score more than 15.6 points right away, who you don't have to worry about sitting behind and being, the second, third string to learn and develop. We need, again, all in year, we need guys that can get that done right away, who can contribute right away, because we don't have the luxury of sitting and waiting and, this playmaker got hurt, Garrett Wilson, Mike Williams, they got hurt. Well, now we have to rely on these guys, maybe try to find a veteran. Another thing I really don't like is the whole, you can just get a receiver in the 3rd or 4th or 5th round or whatever who would be, just as good. Look, I think we take the whole Puka Nacua thing, getting drafted in the 5th round, and act like that just happens every year. There's just all these studs that get drafted. That's not the case. Look, maybe there's 2, 3, 4 guys between the 3rd to the 5th round every year who turn out to be very good, starters. But for the most part, it's depth pieces. Same thing with any position. It's depth pieces. And this will be my final argument. Look, if your team offensive tackle and you're saying, this guy's just going to have the luxury of sitting and learning and getting better because of Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses, so then what's the difference if you get him or a guy in the 3rd round? Again, if we have no idea how these guys are going to perform in the NFL, but if they're going to be in the same position and sitting and learning, then what difference does it make? Obviously, the talent level could be a little different, but if you're learning from the same guys who are going to make that 1st round guy really good, then why can't they make that 3rd round guy pretty good? I've said in past videos, that sweet spot for our offensive line really is that 16 to 19 range. If we can get that, I think we'll be in a really good spot. But look, I'm excited for the draft. Again, if we take wide receiver, tight end, offensive line, I'll be happy. Look, I will. I'm not, I'm not against one position over the other. I prefer one over the other, but I'm not against an offensive tackle. I'm not against a wide receiver. I'm not against a tight end. Well, Brock Bowers, but look, those are that's just my 2 cents. Those are my final thoughts on the on the 2024 draft before it gets started today. Leave your comments down below. What do you think? Am I crazy? Am I not crazy? Who do you want the Jets to pick? What do you want them to do in the draft? And until then, I'll talk to y'all after the draft, and let's go Jets. I'm excited.